Good morning. This is second video of respiration. In first video, we have discussed about introduction and parts of respiration. In this video, we will discuss about respiratory organs and blood supply to the lungs and breathing. So let's start this video. Before starting the parts of breathing organ, let's discuss about where did the respiration occurs in the cell. The cellular respiration occurs in the two main phases. One is called glycolysis and second is called Krebs cycle. This glycolysis, that is the breaking down of glucose, takes place in your cytoplasm, and Krebs cycle takes place in your mitochondria. The glycolysis occurs in cytoplasm outside the mitochondria. The glycolysis is the breakdown of glucose into the pyruvic acid and further the breakdown into the ethanol in the plants and lactic acid in animal. We have already discussed that in animal it is formed lactic acid in anaerobic respiration, and in plant it forms ethanol in anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration do not require oxygen and energy release is very less. Krebs cycle occurs in your mitochondria. This Krebs cycle is a step by step breakdown of pyruvic acid to produce ATP and CO2. It is an anaerobic respiration and needs oxygen. In Krebs cycle, much energy is released, and H plus ion released in the cycle are removed through the oxygen supplied by forming H2O. Right? Now, let's discuss about the respiratory organ. In human being, the respiratory organs consist of nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi and lungs. The nose is the external part of your respiratory organ, which is consist of two nostrils which is separated by cartilaginous septum. The hair is present in the nostril which prevents large particles from entering into the respiratory system. The two nostrils opens into the nasal chamber. The inner lining of nasal chamber performs three functions. Your first one is it warms the air as is to pass over. Right? You know that the air which are entering into our body is at high temperature as compared to our body temperature. So this nasal chamber warm up the air which are entering into our body. It adds moisture to the air. Its mucus secretion entraps harmful particles. So always breathe through the nose and does not through the mouth. Right? An additional function of the nose is to smell. The sensory organ of the smell are located in the special pocket situated high up the nasal chamber, with the help of which you are able to smell something. Right? Your nose is also helps you in speaking, because some words you speak with the help of your nose. Right? Now let's come to the pharynx. The nasal chamber opens at the back into the white cavity that is called pharynx, which is situated at the back of mouth. It is the common passage for air and food. It leads into the air tube, the trachea and the food tube. Food tube is known as esophagus, located dorsally behind the trachea. When not in use, the food tube is partially collapsed, right? Because it has the soft wall. The entrance of the trachea is guided by epiglottis, which is closed at the time of swallowing of food. Means there is an epiglottis which closes the trachea when you are engulfing something. Right? Incomplete closure of epiglottis may cause cough. Now, let's come to the larynx. Larynx is also known as the voice box, right, which is popularly called as Adam apples. It is a hollow cartilaginous structure located at the part of windpipe, right? That windpipe, when you swallow something, this part rises and falls. The larynx contains two ligamentous folds called vocal cord. Air expelled forcibly through the vocal cord vibrates, then producing sound. By adjusting the distance between the two cords and their tension by means of attached muscles, a range of sound can be produced. Now, let's come to the voice and speech. Voice is the sound produced by the vocal cord of a larynx, and speech is the character given to the voice by a complex movement of lips, cheek, tongue, and jaw. Speech consists of words, right, and it is a specialty only in the human species. Means only the human species have the ability to form speech. Right? Now, let's come to the trachea. Trachea, the windpipe emerges from the larynx down below in the neck, where it partly covered by a thyroid gland. Its walls are assisted by C-shaped ring of cartilage. The incomplete part of ring being on the back side, the ring provides flexibility and keeps the trachea distinct permanently. Bronchi. Close to the lungs, the trachea divided into two tubes, which is called bronchi, which enter the respective lungs. On entering the lungs, each bronchi divided into the secondary bronchi, which is further divided into still finer tertiary bronchi. The cartilaginous ring at those parts on the trachea are also present on the smaller bronchi to keep them distant. There. Bronchioles are subsequent still finer tubes of the tertiary bronchi, which acquires a diameter of about 1 mm and are without cartilage ring. By repeated branching, the bronchioles ultimately end in the cluster of tiny air chamber, which is called air sac or alveoli. Right? A network of blood capillaries surround the wall of each alveoli. The wall of alveoli are extremely thin and moist, thus allowing gaseous diffusion through them. Oxygen forms air first, dissolved in the tiny layer of water that cover the surface of alveoli. The lung provides an enormous surface area. The number of alveoli in two lungs in an adult human is about 700 million. The total surface area of alveoli about 70 square meter. Right? Now, you can see in this figure, there is a larynx, trachea, and ring of cartilage supporting the trachea. Right? Left bronchioles, ribs in a cross section, heart, which is situated at the middle of your lungs, left lung, right lung, and diaphragm, which supports in inhalation and exhalation of the gas. Right? Now, see, there is a diffusion process is given here. Carbon dioxide diffuses out from the cell, from the blood, and comes out from our body when we exhale. When we inhale, air enters into our lungs and the oxygen gets diffused in the plasma of your blood. This oxygen gets combined with the hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. Right? Now, let's come to the protective inner lining of respiratory passage. The entire lining of larynx, trachea, bronchi and bronchioles is formed of ciliated epithelium. During lifetime, the cilia are constantly in motion, deriving any fluid that is on them, and they also any particles that may have come in with the air toward the mouth. Right? Now, we know that the lungs are the pair of a spongy and elastic organ formed by the air sac, that is alveoli, the connecting bronchioles and blood vessels. The two lungs are roughly cone-shaped, tapping at the top and broad at the bottom. The left lung has two lobes and right lung has three. The left lung is slightly smaller to accommodate the heart in between. Right? Your left lung is slightly smaller because it had to accommodate the heart over there. Right? Now, there is a membranous covering which are present on the each lungs, and each lung is covered by two membranes, the inner and the outer. The inner membrane is known as a visceral pleura and the outer membrane is known as a parietal pleura. And in between the inner and outer membrane there is a fluid is present which is known as pleural fluid. Right? This arrangement provides lubrication for the free movement of the expanding and contraction of the lungs. The lungs occupy the greater part of the thoracic cavity. They are located close to the inner surface of the thoracic wall and their lower base closely rests on the diaphragm. Right? Now, blood supply to the lungs. The right auricles pumps all the deoxygenated blood received in from the body into the right ventricle. Right ventricle of the heart. This right ventricle, when pumped, it transports the deoxygenated blood to the lungs through the pulmonary arteries. The pulmonary arteries, soon after its emergence, divides into two branches, entering the respective lungs. Inside the lungs, they divide and redivide several times to ultimately form capillaries around the air sac. Veins arising from these capillaries joins and rejoins to form two main pulmonary veins from each lungs, which push the oxygenated blood into the left auricle of the heart. Right? You know that this pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood from lungs to the heart, to the left auricle of heart, and pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood from right ventricle to the heart. Right? The bright red part represents oxygenated blood and the dull brownish part represents deoxygenated blood in the figure. The interconnecting capillaries between the arteries and veins have not been shown in the upper figure to avoid complexity of the diagram. Fine. Now, let's come to the Breathing. What is the breathing? You know, breathing and respiration are two different things. Respiration is the broad term which includes intake of the oxygen and its utilization in the body cell to produce energy. But breathing is simply a mechanical process of inhaling and exhaling the air. Right? So breathing is a mechanical process, but respiration is the chemical process in which the glucose molecules react with the oxygen to form your carbon dioxide, energy and water. But in breathing, we just inhale and exhale the respiratory gases. Right? This respiratory cycle consists of inspiration and expiration. Inspiration means inhalation, means breathing in of air, and expiration is the breathing out, means exhalation, means eliminating the air from your lungs. Right? In normal adult, the breathing rate is 12 to 18 breaths per minute. Means an adult person breathes only 12 to 18 times in a minute, but in a newborn breathe approximately 60 times per minute. Slight increase in the carbon dioxide content in blood increases the breathing rate. If the content of carbon dioxide is get increased in your blood stream, then your breathing rate will be high. Right? Now, let's come to the inspiration. The inspiration is the result of increase in size of thoracic cavity, and this increase is due to inspiration is the result of increase in size of thoracic cavity, and this increase is due to the combined action of ribs and diaphragm. Means when you inspire the air, your diaphragm lower down toward the abdomen, which increases the volume of your lungs, which results in the movement of air from the atmosphere into your lungs. The ribs moves upward and outward due to the contraction of external intercostal muscle, a stretch between them, thus enlarging the chest cavity and around, right cavity all around. The external intercostal muscles are get relaxed. Fine. The diaphragm is a sheet of muscular tissue situated toward the base of lungs. This diaphragm is just lies below your lungs, which normally remains arched upward like dome, contract and flattens from the dome shaped outline to the almost horizontal. Right, almost horizontal plane, and thus contribute to the enlargement of chest cavity lengthwise. As the diaphragm flattens, it presses the organs inside the abdomen, and with the abdominal muscle relaxed, the abdominal wall moves outward, leading to the increase in volume of chest and decrease of pressure. Right? Now you can see in this figure, there is a diaphragm is present just below the lungs, And when you inhale the air, this diaphragm moves toward the abdomen, which compress the other organs and muscles of the abdomen, which results in the upward movement of your abdomen. Right? The decreased pressure inside the lungs draws the air inward. The outward air, being at the greater pressure, rushes into the equalize the pressure. Got it? Now let's come to the expiration. Expiration is the result of reverse movement of ribs and diaphragm. The external intercostal muscle relax. The ribs moves in automatically. The diaphragm is relaxed and moves upward to its dome-like outline. As a consequence of the above movements of ribs and diaphragm, the volume of thoracic cavity is decreased and the lungs are compressed, forcing the air out into the atmosphere. When we breathe out forcibly and naturally, as it happens during the intense physical exercise, the internal intercostal muscles also contract, causing the further contraction of the rib cage to expel out more air for larger intake of oxygen. Now, tissue and internal respiration. The process by which the cells of the body use the oxygen to outside the food and release energy. The carbon dioxide formed as a waste product of breakdown of glucose molecule and send it into the expiration. Right? Now, let's come to the control of breathing movement. The breathing movement are likely controlled by respiratory center located in the medulla oblongata of the brain. This center is stimulated by the carbon dioxide content of the blood. More the carbon dioxide content in the blood, faster is the breathing. The breathing movements are normally not under the control of will, that is, they are involuntary, but to some extent one can increase or decrease the rate and extent of breathing. Right? Now, let's come to the difference between the respiration and expiration in the human being. Now, respiratory system, in second column there is inspiration and in third column there is the expiration. In inspiration, your diaphragm controls and flattens downward, but in expiration, diaphragm gets relaxed and moves upward to dome shape. Right? The external intercostal muscles in inspiration contract, but in expiration it gets relaxed. The internal intercostal muscle in inspiration relax, but in expiration it gets contract for forced expiration. The rib cage and sternum in inspiration moves upward and outward. In expiration, it moves downward and inward. The volume of thoracic cavity in inspiration increases and in expiration it decreases. The air pressure decreases inside thorax and lungs in inspiration, but in expiration the air pressure increases inside the thorax and lungs. In inspiration, air movement, external air pressure derived in air into lungs at low pressure. But in expiration, air forced out of the lungs by thorax compression and elastic recoil of lungs. Right? So this is all about in this video. In next video, we will discuss about the lungs capacity. Fine. Thank you.